Long live the American V8 and the giant American SUV.
Talk about giant. This, honestly, It's beyond enormous. We even had the Expedition recently. This feels larger than the Expedition.
It is. Welcome to the 2021 Tahoe. It's the Chevy Tahoe, the new one.
The brand new one,
Newly re-engineered chassis.
Yep.
Everything is new about it. It's even bigger.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
They added lots of space in every direction you can think of.
Yes, they did.
You list an item, hip room, leg room, headroom, cargo space behind the third row, everywhere. It's bigger.
Yes.
It's huge.
And the hood on this is an enormous shoebox shape. It's just this big box that flies out for a long way, and yet it's still hard to tell where the corners are. It's not like an old Lincoln from the 60s where you can see the corners. You don't know where the corners are for sure, and it just feels like it goes on forever. You and I, we're sitting up really high, and we're tall guys. I still can't tell where the hood ends. It's huge.
It is big.
I need to reiterate how huge this feels.
It's big.
You and I have been driving a lot of big pickups of late. This feels every bit as big or bigger than any of the biggest trucks we've driven. We drove a 2500 Ram. This feels every bit as big.
Well, if you're shopping for one of these, you have come to this review, and welcome, thank you.
Yes.
For space, ride, or power, or some combination, or all three of those.
True.
Because handling isn't really the high point here. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to first talk about the ride, because up until this point, the Tahoe and Suburban has always been a solid rear axle.
Yep.
It has never before had an independent rear suspension, which it now is. And unlike every other competitor, there's not many, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It also has, with this trim level, the magnetic ride control and air ride suspension both. On the same truck.
Z71 package gets us both of the above. And what's interesting about that is the Z71 package is supposed to be the off-roading package. This has low range, it's got skid plates, it's got all the off-roading stuff.
You get the max trailering package as well.
True. However, with this setup of the magnetic ride and the air suspension, I think the ride is shockingly good.
I think it's superb.
It
is the best thing about this truck.
Yes.
I can't believe how good the ride is. And I come from Expedition ownership. It's a 2012, so it's the third generation Expedition. We recently had the 2020 Expedition as comparison. And the ride is good because it's been independent suspension on the Expedition for a long time. And now with this truck being fully independent, everything, the magnetic ride and the air ride suspension, it doesn't ride like it should.
Doesn't ride like you think something this large.
Superb.
Yes. It rides, honestly, equivalent to the big, full-size luxury cars, like the S-Classes and the A8s from Audi. It has that kind of ride, except you feel like you're standing twice as high.
It's not spungy, though.
No, not
which
at
is
all.
Good.
Not at all. No, I think that's the surprise about the handling. It is, as you said before, it's not about handling in this. However, the body is incredibly well controlled. For a nearly 6,000-pound truck that is this huge, I honestly think from the side it looks too tall. It looks weirdly tall.
It's tall.
And you're way up here, like you're a low-flying plane is what your visibility is like. Seriously, it's insane.
Which buyers of SUVs like.
Yes, and you're looking semis in the eye, and yet you have a ride that feels like an S-Class.
But that's the good thing.
Yes.
The truck-like feel that buyers love is still there, but it doesn't drive like that. It doesn't handle like that anymore. But then we come to the power. We've got to talk about the engines, and that is directly compared to the only other truck this big, and that's the Expedition. The Expedition offers one engine throughout the entire range of short and long wheelbases, which is now the max.
Yeah.
There's one engine. It's a turbo V6, the EcoBoost.
Yes.
The Chevy Tahoe and Suburban have the choice of three. They are the only ones that have stuck with the large, thirsty V8.
Yes.
The small block V8. This one is the 5.3 V8. It is still very thirsty, despite all of the cylinder shut off and everything to, direct injection to try to get the miles per gallon up. It's still really not great, but that's not why you bought it anyway.
No, not at all.
But it does have good power, except all three of these engines that are offered with the Tahoe and Suburban, the 3-liter inline-6 diesel, the 5.3-liter V8, and the 6.2-liter V8, all make less torque than the turbo V6 in the Expedition.
And that is key.
all of them.
That's key.
And I'm trying to figure out, other than tradition and just because V8s are awesome, why not change the power plant and go something completely different like Ford has? Because in that sense, it no longer competes. It only competes on size.
Well, I'll give you an alternative. Instead of having a diesel and 2 traditional V8s, why not a diesel, a turbo something, and a big V8?
That'd be great.
To give you the options.
That'd
because
be great.
I actually think this engine is mismatched to this monster. I don't think it's enough power. Now, that's funny because it's 355 horsepower.
Yeah,
okay,
good.
It's not a weak engine. 355 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque is, put that in a sports car, put it in a sedan, that's plenty of power.
Sure,
But this is a nearly 6,000 pound, 7-seat monster with a nearly 8,000 pound towing capacity, and every time you put your foot in it, you just think, I could do with a little more. I'd like a little bit more.
As you watch the gas needle go,
Yes. I think you need the big 6.2 liter V8 that gets you over 400 horsepower. I think you need that to feel like the right amount of power in this. Mm-hmm. And yet, like, objectively, this is a powerful engine.
It is.
It's just not enough for this monster. I think that a turbo would be key because it would give that mid-range torque that this doesn't have, that it kind of feels like it needs, especially after that Expedition.
Horsepower no longer matters when you're talking about trucks like this. To me, it's only torque. Let's only talk about torque.
That's where the diesel shines. But the diesel has essentially the same torque number as the big 6.2 liter V8. It's not like it blew it out of the water.
Now, it gets better gas mileage than any of the engines, which is fine, but I still think buyers are going to be skittish just because diesel. Everybody's just got diesel
We're all spooked.
fear. They're still excellent engines. They work well, and they should be bought, but I think the diesel sales are going to be lower just because of the consumer fear of
the perception of
diesels are bad. They're not.
Yeah. The weird thing about the diesel, though, is you don't gain a lot in towing capacity. It's like a couple hundred pounds. All of these are right around 8,000 pounds in towing capacity, which, by the way, is a lot and plenty when you consider the fact you're hauling your family of 7 around. If the diesel had 1,000 or 2,000 pounds more towing capacity, it'd be like, okay, now the diesel makes sense. It gets the same torque as the big 6.2 liter V8 and about the same towing capacity as both of the other ones, which makes me go, I'm not really sure, except for buying less diesel, why it matters.
Except it's still less than the Expedition with the Turbo V6.
I hear you.
It's still less.
Yeah.
And towing capacity is still less than the Expedition.
That's true.
The fully loaded, the gross combined weight rating, and that means both truck and trailer and all your luggage and people and everything. It's
why you're buying it.
14,500 with the max trailering package.
Okay.
That's a lot. The Expedition is 15,300. And the reason those numbers are important is because you don't really want to exceed that kind of weight.
True.
When you're towing, you can get away with a few pounds here and there, but that's not something you really want to exceed with everything combined. That's why they measure it.
And when you're buying one of these monsters, you're buying it so it's you and all the friends and all the kids and all the stuff and the boat behind. That's why you bought it.
On the new Tahoe, the way to shift it has changed.
You're easing your way into this topic, I can tell.
Just a little bit.
Just easing your way in.
The controls to operate the transmission are nearer to the steering wheel, which is good, ergonomically speaking. But they're up high on the instrument panel, and the closer you look, the more they become like and feel like window switches.
And that's what they are, essentially, yes. Big box of window switches. We had leftovers.
You get PRNDL, and you get the low mode, and now to shift your 10-speed transmission, you take both these fingers, like you're playing chopsticks on the piano, and you shift your Tahoe or your Suburban. I understand to get this space, the center cargo space, and the giant cups that we drink out of.
All going to have, yes.
I definitely appreciate that, but I feel like Chevy missed a gigantic opportunity to make this better, because right now it sort of reminds me of a bowling ball, like the bowling ball finger holes inspired I don't know where the thumb goes. But if you look at Honda, each particular function is different. To put it in park, the button shape is different. To go into reverse, you're pulling back as if you're pulling the car back. And then to go into drive, it's a large circular button to go forward again. These all look exactly alike. So you could be confused.
Well, it also
There's
does
a
feel like the
big
box of
missed
window
opportunity.
switches. While you're talking about that, though, while you're talking about Honda, let's jump directly to Chevy. The Corvette has done this well with an actual
Yes.
shift system. Now, I'm sure
Yes.
somebody said, no, we need to leave that for Corvette, but if we're talking about saving costs, Chevy made their own that is very proprietary and has specific buttons for things. If you wanted to go that route, I have other issues.
The
if you
design
wanted
of
to go
that
out
wouldn't work in the truck,
But-
but the way it
But
works.
the concept could. You could change the shape of the
Yes.
toggle switches.
I
At
agree.
least that would look unique.
I agree.
Here's my issue. I think this feels like people got confused about where things should go. The sides of this should be the vents to get the vents higher.
Yeah.
This random shape storage
doesn't even-
thing
yeah, they're-
that is for a phone, because we have to match this side with something. So, we'll put a pocket there, but here's the problem.
little cubby.
The pocket is difficult. It doesn't want to open right now at all. It's a weird shape. If you put your
Yeah.
phone in there's about a 60% chance you're going to hit the hazard switch underneath and not know why. Okay? These side pieces should be the vents, and the screen should be pushed down
I
to
like
be flush
that.
with the instrument
I like
panel.
that.
And honestly, I have kind of poked friendly fun at GMC before, because on some of their trucks they still had the shifter on the column. But in spite of that, that has history. It's been in this forever. It still keeps things off the center console. I think it's a better solution than these buttons.
I
To
do
put
too.
a shifter on the column,
I do
push
too.
the screen down, give me vents on the side. Vents are getting lower and lower. This is my rant on everything right now. Vents are getting lower and lower in the console as cars get
Interesting.
higher and higher,
Yeah.
because the screen has to live on top. Put the vents on the side. That's where it should have been. Push the screen down.
I can definitely
this
see
whole
that.
area would be more ergonomic. Somebody would say we can't put a shifter on the column, but it worked.
It
And
does.
it solved
It
the problem
does,
you're
yeah.
trying to solve here. It's better, it's simpler, it's cheaper, and it makes this work better. This area annoys me to no end, because I think it is,
Yeah.
we had all the pieces, the boxes to fill, and we decided the pieces incorrectly. We had all the pieces right, we put them in the wrong places, and now it's a mess.
I think the column shifter actually connects you with the mechanical feel of the truck better when you're dropping into low range and you're doing something with the car. You're not just taking two fingers and going up
It
or
has
down.
history, if nothing else.
I do like
it
that.
It has truck-related history.
Okay, if we're going to go with the truck-related history, and this is the only full-size SUV being built anymore with a V8, let's keep the column shifter to keep everything about that nostalgic almost.
It does look.
It appeals and it works.
And it looks old school.
This
and
is change for the sake of change.
This is, yeah.
It didn't make it better.
No.
It just made it different. So
And it used the space improperly. I keep coming back to that.
Yeah.
This stupid little pocket here. It's a stupid pocket that is just a balance because we filled this space here. By the way, also,
I don't know.
while I'm ranting,
why
there.
isn't it should
this
go
is a
deeper?
huge console.
You should be able to put a baby in there.
You should be able to put like the wife's
baby.
biggest possible purse
Yes.
and the fourth kid.
I
yes,
agree.
right in there. Yes.
Right down in there.
Thank you for giving us HVAC controls that are independent of the screen. That is key, and you've done that very well.
Yes.
This area is confused.
You need to try this.
I do. Is this a credit card slot over here? I just
I'm not sure what that is. I think it's for a credit card.
Hang on. Hand me my phone. I'm doing some investigative reporting right now. Here is a credit card of mine, and I think...
Is that what it's for?
Why?
You know what that's for?
What's it for?
Is a badge to let you in gates or a gated
gosh,
community
you're right.
or something like that. So you have a badge always there that doesn't leave the car.
GM has thought about the fact they're going to sell a bunch of these to government agencies, and they're all going to have a gate badge. And they were like, let's put the gate card slot in the...
It
Okay,
exists.
sorry. You can't give me a center console that can hold a human head, but you gave me a slot for a gate card? I am so confused as to the meanings that happened on this truck. I'm confused. I want to do this right now. And
I
I'm gonna
agree.
Go, drive.
I agree. I like designers thinking about the interior from a classic, good-looking proportions. There's a lot of symmetry going on here.
Yes.
It's going to look clean and useful, and it does clean up this center console area dramatically, which is
And
great.
At $68,000, I think this interior looks and feels worth it.
Do you?
I think a lot of times
okay.
The prices of these big SUVs exceed the quality of the interior. I think the interior quality I think the look of it, the interior feels worth the money.
Okay.
I don't like the ergonomics here, but the materials feel worth it, except for whatever this slidey thing is.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. It feels broken, but I'm not sure what that does.
But I actually think they've done very, very well on an interior feel and usability and size.
Okay.
That is a victory that actually plays to the price. When I saw $68,000 on this, I went, oh, okay.
All right.
Which is because so many times we see a price and we go, really?
That's true. That's true. The only reason this is not 70 is because it doesn't have anything related to a hole in the roof. It's
true.
No sunroof, no glass moonroof, no nothing.
But get rid of the screens in the back and bring it down to like 66.
You could.
You don't even need screens in the back.
Yeah. The suspension is lovely.
It's astounding. Honestly,
really is great.
It's much better than something this big should ride. And the only oddity about the suspension, though, is when you turn the car off. Have you walked around this car at all with it turned off, like just turned off?
Yeah, it does its thing.
It sounds like an interstellar spacecraft.
I'm cool with that. It's leveling itself.
It's constantly doing stuff. It's like the Millennium Falcon just venting. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, okay. It's a Star Wars reference. It doesn't matter. This thing is just about that big, too. I can't get over how big it is. I also have to say this, and you're going to have to help me.
Okay.
Because the front, I'm kind of getting used to. This crazy weird thing they built for the Silverado. The front, I'm kind of getting used to. I think they're kind of making it better. The side is too tall, and the back is simultaneously boring and ugly, which I almost think is a victory somehow. How you made something simultaneously boring and ugly, I think it is unattractive from the rear.
Really?
Yes.
I don't mind it.
Really?
I will admit that it's taken me a while to warm up to Chevrolet's new styling. The front end of this has a face. Mm-hmm. It has a look to it. It has eyes, it has not a mouth, but it has a signature look to it.
It does.
There's many cars and trucks that are amorphous, and they don't have a particular look. You can't find what is the look. It just looks like combinations of materials. Lighting technology is affecting the front end because lights can grow ever tinier and be embedded as part of the front end, and signature lighting actually to really make it differentiated. That's tough to do and really make a long-term signature look. I'm not a fan of the pickup versions of this, but on the Tahoe and the Suburban, they've done really well.
I do think it's working. I think the front looks mean and angry. I think the front three-quarter looks good. The side I actually like. I just feel like somehow it feels too tall. Like really, really tall.
The proportions are very tall. And I ask you, at what point do we stop making these things bigger? Because this will fit lots of large people now.
Yes, it will.
Does the next generation need to go even bigger? Because the marketing people need something to write about. If it's not bigger, then what will it be? It'll be a different powertrain. It'll be new tech and new amenities. But as far as size, the third row is enormous, and this Tahoe has more room behind the third row than every other truck. Now, you put that third row down, it's enormous. There's so much space in this. So if you're genuinely shopping and you can afford and you want something this large, be assured it drives really well now. It doesn't drive and handle or ride like a truck.
I'm going to stay with it. The ride is like an S-Class or an A8. It is that level
I think that's
of
a great
luxury
comparison.
sedan.
It's
However,
so
you have
controlled.
the big sitting in a high chair feel of the visibility here. The visibility actually in general is good. This doesn't feel as a driver as big as it is. It is huge.
Look at the space
between us. It's huge. And I cannot get over the amount of space in the back. I had a Tahoe a few generations back, but I've climbed into every Tahoe in a third row since I put one in. And honestly, the third row has generally been a joke. It has been a kids only, kids in car seats only. This, I have to tell you, for the first time, is a genuine let's go somewhere third row.
Yeah.
Without sacrificing a second row and making it like everybody's up against, everybody's got space.
I hope we get to dinner soon.
Everyone has space. In a third row with real adults, that is a huge success here. This is the benefit of making it ever more enormous, is now it has real usable space, and I know we keep hitting on it, that combination, Air Ride, Magna Ride, those two things have created body roll that is incredibly well controlled. Yeah. This is not something that you hustle down a back road, in spite of how you and I drive. You just don't hustle it down a back road.
But the ride, it's just comfortable.
When you climb in it, you know what you think? we should get the whole family together. We should go somewhere. You just think we should take a road trip. We should drive somewhere for a while when you climb in this thing.
I like that. Yeah.
And that is exactly what it's for. For the people that are shopping to haul a boat and the whole family, I think you will be shocked at the space.
Yeah.
And I think you will drive it and just think, where did my truck ride go? And not in a bad way, not like, I miss it. You'll just be like, when did this get so nice?
Yeah.
I do think you'll wish for a bit more power. But you and I are spoiled to power. We've driven a lot of powerful stuff, including some very powerful SUVs of late, some of which have been so powerful, it has been needlessly powerful in a huge SUV. So I will admit we have that kind of tweak to our bias of what power should be required.
Fair enough, fair enough.
But it's not like this struggles to go places. I just drive it and think, I could do it more.
Are we saying that this is a truck that's finally worth the money?
I think it is.
Is that what we're kind of landing
for the
on?
people that need this? I mean, I still think if you just need 7 seats and a normal situation of life, and you don't need to haul big things, you don't need 4-wheel drive like actual running gear, you should be getting something like a Telluride. Get the unibody construction, front-wheel drive biased SUVs. That's fine for most people. 7 seats. There is the market beyond that, which is where this sits. And the Expedition sits, where I want to haul stuff. I want truck running gear. And that has never been.
Feel like it.
Exactly. That has never been an affordable market segment, by the way. Those are always more expensive than we think they are.
True.
$68,000 for this puts it $10,000 above the SUVs we're talking about, which is not that much if you want this kind of capability. And now, I feel like for the first time, this size has equivalent space.
One tiny observation, and that is the exterior mirrors. If they're going to be this large, the surface of the mirror should be equally as large. There shouldn't be a gap cutting the mirror off and not giving you all the real estate of the mirror. I don't understand that. Give me all the mirror. If you're going to make mirrors this big, make it all the mirror.
That's good.